Did you know that February is Heart Month? And it's February for a few more days. In fact, we get that extra one day of February this year. It's also a good time to think about your hearing. And why is that related to Heart Month? Well, Dr. Christine Pickup of Mount Harrison Audiology is reminding you to have your hearing checked. Include a hearing check as part of your routine physical. Studies show that a healthy cardiovascular system, including heart, arteries, and veins, that has a positive effect on your hearing. You can call Dr. Christine Pickup today at Mount Harrison Audiology in Rupert, 312-0957, or log on to mountharrisonaudiology.com. And yesterday on the way home from work, another one of our longtime advertisers, I decided to look up where their new facility is, and sure enough, we've been telling you for months now about Tint Lady. Tint Lady has a new location at 127 Filer Avenue at the corner of Washington. I had a chance to look for it yesterday because I had a long red light there. But we recommend you give Tint Lady a call because window tints can help cut down on those harmful UV rays that can have a bleaching effect on your furniture, your carpet, your drapes, and the like. And you can get a free estimate done. In fact, you can give a telephone call to 736-8469 or go online at tintladyidaho.com. Now, this is a business locally owned and operated now for almost 25 years. Hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., open Monday through Friday during those hours. Saturday by appointment only. And remember, don't squint, get tint. I was talking about the debate last night, Republican debate, at the top of the program today. I got a great email here that came in from someone over in the Mini-Cassia area who was listening this morning, and it's in reference to the comments from both Lindsey Graham, who has a murder fantasy about Ted Cruz, as well as about the columnist at the New York Times who said someone should assassinate Donald Trump. Used to be a period in this country when you made threats like that against various people in politics or public life where you got a visit from the Secret Service. Does that still happen any longer? Lindsey Graham, of course, would probably be looking for a date if a Secret Service agent came over to his house. What a surprise there. What a shock that would be. I'm telling you right now, though, the establishment is beginning to understand that its days may be numbered. And when you corner a beast like that, it gets very, very vicious. And when these guys, well, I'm only joking when I talk about killing politicians. I'm sorry. But we're starting to get a good look into the mindset of the establishment when it's talking about bloody fantasies. Speaking of the establishment, one person who's always been pounding the door, even though at one time he was very much a member of it, Pat Buchanan served in both the Nixon and Reagan administrations. That would have made him the ultimate insider. But then in 1992, he broke, and he started fighting against the Republican establishment. He's been doing it ever since. He's a former speechwriter and communications director for a couple of different presidents in this country. He has a column today that says that Trump could beat Hillary Clinton, even though you keep hearing it from Marco Rubio. I am the most electable candidate. It's like he's been programmed. He just spits out the certain words that he's told. I am the most electable candidate. See, look at all my beautiful teeth. Look at my rubbery face. Yeah, I mean, I can mold it into any shape I want. Mr. Buchanan says there is that famed blue wall, those 18 states and District of Columbia, with a combined 242 electoral votes, 28 shy of victory, which you would expect would be going to Democrats this year. He says changing demography favors Democrats. Half the nation now receives U.S. government benefits, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, welfare, student loans, rent subsidies, school lunches, earned income tax credits, etc., and they're likely Democrats and usually counted on to vote for Democrats who are running for office. Although, how many of those people in the food stamp crowd actually show up to vote on Election Day? He goes on to write, due to Trump, viewership of the Republican debates has been astronomical, 24 million for one, 23 million for another. And then he says this, as a builder and job creator, Trump would surely have greater cross-party appeal to working-class Democrats than any traditional Republican politician. Moreover, when Bernie Sanders goes down to defeat, how much enthusiasm will his supporters, who thrilled to the savaging of Wall Street, bring to the Clinton campaign? Trump represents change. And Trump right now, a lot of people are saying that he is rallying what was called the Reagan Democrats, and that if he continues to rally these people to his cause, they will show up in droves on Election Day. Yes, the Republican establishment hates him. The conservative establishment hates him. But a great many Americans continue to respond to him. And if he ends up building a brand new Republican coalition, will the Republicans take their football and go home? Or will they understand this is the path to victory? Coming up on 929, Bill Colley with you for one more half hour this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Before we go to the next break, I do want to remind you, you can reach me following the break at 736-0300, 736-0300. I also want to tell you about High Desert Meat Processing in Twin Falls, where they process one animal at a time. What you bring in is what you get back. Darren Van Horn, the owner of High Desert Meat Processing in Twin Falls, he's got more than 30 years' experience. You can visit High Desert Meat Processing on Facebook, where you can see the reviews of other customers. Give High Desert Meat Processing a call for all of your wild game and your domestic processing needs, 734-9949. High Desert Meat does in-house smoking. Nothing is shipped out. Specialty meats, jerky, pepperoni, salami, breakfast sausage, brats, and much more. USDA approved. Darren works closely with local beef growers and their programs, ensuring quality meat, 734-9949. Speaking of wild game and people who love to go hunting for wild game, Kelton Hatch will be joining us in the latter half of the program on Monday morning. Hope you can join us. I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, we're going to be visited by Kelton Hatch on Monday. He's not doing his usual full hour. That'll be coming up a couple of weeks after that, but he's here to talk next week about a very special event, and he'll be cluing you in about that when he joins us just after 9 o'clock news on Monday. Also, next week, we do this every Wednesday between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. We are joined by one of the medical professionals from Tripp Family Medicine right here in Twin Falls, Idaho, located on Fillmore Street directly across from the main post office. And what we do is we pick a particular medical topic, and then we allow you an opportunity to call the doctor or the physician assistant, one of the office professionals, and get a little free advice, and perhaps it'll give you some direction on an issue that may obviously be of very much importance to your health. So we look forward to doing that again this Wednesday morning between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine. And remember, life's too short not to feel good. 9:34, Bill Colley with you on Top Story this morning for a few more minutes before we give way to Rush Limbaugh. He'll have plenty when it comes to last night's debate, plenty to talk about. Some people are saying, that it was perhaps Trump's worst performance. Look, I don't know how any of this is going to impact his campaign and his followers. It's not really about pinpointing him down and saying, you're wrong, you're lying about nationalized health care, et cetera, et cetera. People respond to who shows the toughness during a situation like this. I bring this up because this is Donald Trump, and according to all of the conservatives and Republican establishment folks who were watching last night, he got thoroughly thrashed by Marco Rubio. Take a listen.
You may not be aware of this, Donald, because you don't follow this stuff very closely, but here's what happened. When they passed Obamacare, they put a bailout fund in Obamacare. All these lobbyists to keep talking about, they put a bailout fund in the law that would allow public money to be used, taxpayer money, to bail out companies when they lost money. And we led the effort and wiped out that bailout fund. The insurance companies are not in favor of me. They hate that. They're suing now to get that bailout money put back in. Here's what you didn't hear in that answer, and this is important, guys. This is an important thing. What is your plan? I understand the lines around the state, whatever that means. This is not a game where you draw maps
and you
around.
Don't know what it
What
means.
is your plan?
That's the problem.
What is your plan on health care? You don't have a plan.
The biggest
Well,
problem he doesn't
I'll give
know.
you 1 minute of
The
my
biggest
time to tell me
problem
his
he's
plan.
got is he
What's his
doesn't know.
plan?
You know, I watched him melt down 2 weeks ago with Chris Christie. I got to tell you, the biggest problem he's got is he really doesn't know about the lines. The biggest thing we've got, and the reason we have no competition, is because we have lines around the state, and you have essentially
we already mentioned that as part of my plan. I know what that is. But what else is part of your plan? So your only thing is to get rid of the lines around the states. What else is part of your health care plan?
What the lines around the states mean.
That's your only plan.
And it was almost done. No. You know
All
what
right,
that does?
I'll
That
give him
brings
time
in,
of mind. He can tell us his plan.
Excuse me. That
What's your
brings
plan?
in competition.
I think what they're talking about is Cruz just hammering away. I think when they're talking about lines, it comes down to restrictions and the like and what's being offered. At the very tail end of that, Trump said it brings in competition. He's essentially talking about what Ron Paul talked about for years, saying that certain states have limits. I lived in a state where we only had 2 insurance companies that did business in the entire state. So if you eliminate you allow people to come in and compete and offer other policies, you may have some cost controls in that. That's the whole notion of a free market. Am I right on that, or am I missing something here? And I keep hearing all of these people saying, Cruz really gave it to him, or not Cruz in this case, but Rubio really gave it to him last night. They both were very feisty, Cruz and Rubio. But if you're not really a Marco Rubio guy, did you sit there and watch that last night and go, gosh, I guess I'll vote for Mario now because he's really going toe-to-toe with Trump? Or did it just come across as being, all right, a couple of guys up on stage shouting at each other, and you're pretty much going to hold what you've already been holding at this point? 9:38. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Got a couple of emails this morning, and just quickly, I want to share a couple of things with you too. Email address bill.colley. So there's a period in the middle of that between first and last name. Bill.Colley@townsquaremedia.com. Bill.Colley@townsquaremedia.com. Last name spelled Colley. If you'd like to reach us in the final segment of the program, which is coming up in just a few minutes, telephone number 736-0300. I've got about a minute left in this segment of the program, so we'll squeeze a caller in before the break. You're on the air on KLIX.
Yeah, I was down in Nevada, and I spent 10 days calling people, and, I was down there for Cruz campaign, and I don't think the debate last night will have any effect on the Trump voters after talking to a lot of them.
They pretty much made up their mind, haven't they?
Well, you won't like my answer. They mostly won't even talk to you. I mean, I'm sure you've heard the news I was never cursed at so much in my entire life. I'm a small town guy. I couldn't understand how angry they were at anybody that wanted to talk to them.
Well, in the last 4 or 5 days, I've posted a couple of things online, and I thank you for the call and really for the effort. It's good that people get involved in I was a member of a phone bank and a street team as well in a U.S. Senate race a couple of years ago in Michigan. But I posted a couple of things online saying, I'm not so sure that Trump's the problem, but there are some of his supporters. And when I say some, I don't mean all. And immediately, the brown shirt, jackbooted Nazi thugs start hammering away at me. And all I'm saying is some of them aren't very nice people. And they go right ahead and make my case for me. Bill Colley with you on Top Story. Thank you very much for the call, sir, and the effort, as I pointed out. 20 more minutes of the program still ahead. And more of your telephone calls, too, as well, at 736-0300, 736-0300, right here on KLIX. Donald Trump, according to Ann Coulter, has identified 6 basic fears the American people have, and by doing so has resonated with a great many. And I read those 6 basic fears, and I say that he was probably right in identifying those. And her point is, if some other Republican had done it sooner, that Republican would be the beneficiary of all of those votes and all of that support. Now, when you sit here and say that some of Trump's supporters are loopy, well, certainly there are loopy people who are supporting every candidate. That does not mean, and if you've been challenged with critical thinking, perhaps you have a public school education, you may understand that. But when we say some, we do not mean that all of you are bats. Okay? You got that, right? On the other hand, one of my coworkers told me yesterday about a survey that shows 10% of Trump's supporters believe the Emancipation Proclamation was a bad idea. Now, if you're over at the New York Times, you scream, Trump supporters are racists. No, 9 out of 10 probably aren't. But yes, there is an element out there that is kooky. And, we've got people who we're dealing with. On the other hand, they're likely angry, too, that somebody came here illegally and took their job. And that doesn't, they may hold an idea that you don't agree with, but they have every right to be angry in some cases. 9:45, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. 35, even Ron and Rand Paul attracted some people who were, and I was a longtime supporter of those two, they attracted some people who were a little bit on the, you wondered if maybe they were 2 beers short of a 6-pack. We have a caller with us. You're on the air on KLIX.
Good morning, Bill. I don't think this is going to hurt Trump at all because, like I said before, all the things that we thought was unusual, that people were following Obama blindly no matter what he did, he's doing the same thing, and he's using the same tactics. I said for years, if the Republicans would use the Democrat tactics, it'd get better. But Trump is using it, and he's whipping people into a frenzy. I was so sad yesterday when I heard a guy call up Rush and blame the unwashed for the problems in
Yes.
the country. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, how that hurt. I don't think there's a soul on earth that God put here that doesn't have a purpose or a higher purpose to do something. I don't care who they are. They have something they can do and contribute to the world. But we're also the worst enemy to God. We sometimes can be the laziest people, and sometimes we think we are gods.
There was a fellow, I'll share a story with you. Many, many years ago, I remember reading a story where when Martin O'Malley, sometimes known as Martin O'Marxist, was the governor of Maryland, a guy who had been, he'd made a living putting up drywall. He sent the governor of Maryland an email and threatened to strangle him, and the guy got arrested and he got put on trial. They ruined his life. They ran up his legal bills. But he was upset because all of the illegal immigrants were storming into Maryland, and they were getting all the jobs that guys like him used to get. He was willing to work. He was willing to show up every day, and I used to hang drywall. It's not easy work. It's kind of dusty and dirty and all of that. But you know what? I understand exactly why he was angry. That great unwashed are those people out there who no longer can find that work, and they've been relegated to standing in line with food stamps. And this is the point that the swells continually miss.
Yeah, okay, but to call people great unwashed and everything else, he has tapped into the great anger of PC, and he's gone so far the other direction. If this was 10, 15 years ago, people wouldn't listen to him and walk away because he was so vile. But right now, they're so hungry to get away from this PC stuff that they're latching onto him like a leech. And I'm almost getting to the point that I agree. I think if he shot somebody, they wouldn't care. They could care less. They would still vote for him. And I still say he's going to take us down.
Lindsey Graham.
He's going to get in. He's going to get in, and he's going to take us down.
Hey, thank you for the call. Lindsey Graham would prefer that he shoot Ted Cruz. And then the swells over on Lindsey's side would really appreciate Donald Trump. 948, thank you for the call. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Here's a thought. I'm opposed to a lot of government social programs, welfare programs, if you like, because I think they create a culture of dependency. And then I knew a young woman when I was in school growing up, and I was just out of school, and I was working at a local hospital, earning money to pay my way through college. And she was a candy striper, and she was a really nice young lady. But she was like third-generation welfare. Her family didn't know anything else. And she and her sisters and her aunts and probably her mother in the same sense, all they did was they popped out children. Most of them were married. We called them shotgun weddings and the like. And they didn't know anything else because they had been on the dole for so long. That was what was normal. I think it's bad for that reason because it saps the productivity that these people could have had. Now, some people out there don't like social welfare programs because they think the people getting them are lazy and stupid. And then there are some people out there who don't like social welfare programs because they don't like the color of the skin of the people who are getting those programs or that they perceive are getting those programs. Now, all three sets of us are opposed to social welfare spending for certain reasons. We don't agree necessarily on what those reasons are. Now, some may also agree with me, even though they believe those other things. But I'm telling you right now, if you're the establishment media in this country or Hollywood or other elites, you claim that all three groups of us were opposed to these programs because we don't like people of color. But when you come right down to it, we all have different reasons for opposing these programs, and the other side refuses to acknowledge that there are different reasons involved in that opposition. They may understand what I'm talking about when I come down to the culture of dependency, but they don't want to acknowledge that because if they acknowledge that and say there's a reasonable argument that I'm making, then their argument collapses. You got it? So they have to call us all racists. 10 minutes away from 10 o'clock. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. 36 on our way to 54 today. We have another caller with us, and you're on the air.
Yes, talking about the establishment media, I always was under the impression that Fox News kind of had our back as conservatives, but I'm kind of feeling a little more disenfranchised than ever as we've had the last two debates, and I've seen the coverage afterwards. Even Sean Hannity and some of those that I would assume are really conservative have seemed to, I didn't hear hardly anything about Ted Cruz or Carson. All we hear is Trump and Rubio. And to me, everyone wants Trump, or everybody, it seems to be pushing towards that way. But it's because the media is giving so much attention. And to me, I think very little of this election is not crafted in some way, even by what we would consider conservative media, to have an establishment candidate in the end.
It's all about getting ratings, and Trump has been driving those. And Fox News, just like CNN and MSDNC, they love him because he brings eyeballs to the screen and they can sell more soap. Let's be honest. Fox has promoted itself as the alternative, fair and balanced, for many, many years. The Fox secret, though, is really a lot of blondes with a lot of cleavage showing and short skirts. I can remember watching Fox and Friends way back when, she left the show and she went and did a talk show for a while, and she sort of vanished. But she was the big Fox blonde about 10 years ago on Fox and Friends. Her name slips my mind now for the moment, but she used to sit there in these short leather minis on set. In fact, she acknowledged one day that she was getting email from people calling her out for dressing like a slut. But that was the Fox secret, to claim to be very conservative, but then it's like watching the old Star Trek reruns where all the women are walking around in minis. It's about the eye candy. It's not, that was the Fox secret for many, many years. And hire a guy like Hannity, for instance, who's a well-known conservative talk show host. Hire a guy like Hannity, and it gives you some street cred with conservatives who also like to look at good-looking women. But it was nothing more than that. Ultimately, it's about putting people in the tent so you can sell them more products or charge more money for selling products. You're up next. You're on the air with Bill Colley on KLIX.
Good morning, Bill. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. What's on your mind?
I want to go back to Donald Trump. I'm not. I don't think I'm going to vote for him. But on the other side, I'm confused. We got somebody in there now that's destroyed the country, but yet we're going to. Everybody's saying we're going to put him in there and he's going to destroy the country. Why aren't we yelling about the guy that's in there now?
The guy who's in there now is definitely trouble. I thank you much for the telephone call. When I hear this fellow talk, he's bragging, saying that he's defeating ISIS. That's his latest. This is from yesterday. Take a listen.
We will continue to draw on all elements of our national power: military, intelligence, diplomacy, homeland security, law enforcement, and the strength of our communities. And I am confident that we will prevail. Every day, our air campaign, more than 10,000 strikes so far, continues to destroy ISIL forces, infrastructure, and heavy weapons. ISIL fighters are learning that they've got no safe haven. We can hit them anywhere, anytime, and we do. The only way to deal with ISIL in a way that defeats them in a lasting way is to end the chaos and the civil war that has engulfed Syria.
I've been reading about the restrictions placed on our bombing of these people. I mean, it's a little ridiculous. Do you believe that? If we really wanted to use American military might against ISIS, which he calls ISIL, for his own nefarious political reasons, but if he really wanted to get serious about the American military could have wiped these guys out in 2 weeks. To sit here and claim, everything's working well, and they'll be. He called them the JV squad, for crying out loud. He's an incompetent and a fool, and he gets by because he knows how to throw out the baloney, the bull crap that you hear like that. He's got a good line of it, and of course you got a lot of liberals. Oh, transformational change, yep, transformational change, yep, yep. I want to have his babies, yeah. Oh, he's a man. Black man is good. Negroes are cool. That's what you got going on with the liberal media in this country. And they've given us years of him, and they've excused his behavior and his incompetence because of that. And again, this is why people like Donald Trump come along, because the American public knows the media has been selling us a bill of goods. They've witnessed it and they've seen it. 9:56. Bill Colley with you on Top Story this morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. The media has been doing for Barack Obama what Monica Lewinsky did for Bill Clinton, and the media has been doing it openly now for 8 years. It is just shameful. And then media wonders why no one trusts it any longer. Well, here's who you should vote for, as we always tell you. And no one listens. Well, no one listens because we know you're full of it. Hey, quickly, before we wrap up the program today, I do want to mention, I haven't gotten around to doing this yet today, but I'd like to talk about our friends at Dream Room Design. First off, go look at their website, dreamroomdesign.com, where you can see videos of some work that they can do, as well as testimonials. They do finished basements. The Total Basement Finishing product line, specifically designed for the basic basement, there we go, environment. Well, your basic basement is different than your abnormal basement in what way? All products are inorganic and will not grow mold or be ruined by a water event. So that's the key for a lot of people. If you're going to finish a basement, some people are worried about flooding. Well, no trouble here. Many people are hesitant to finish because of that concern and that their investment would be ruined. Do you need more space or more bedrooms, another bath, or a play area for the kids? Then the people at Dream Room Design are the people you need to go to. Once more, that website, dreamroomdesign.com. Coming up on the end of our program today, God willing, if the creek don't rise, they'll allow me to do this again on Monday morning between 8 and 10 o'clock. Rush Limbaugh will be along next after Fox News. Sean Hannity following Fox News at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and Glenn Beck right here. Following 4 o'clock news from Fox this afternoon on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Maybe we can't save the country any longer, but you know what? We're going to go down fighting and trying, aren't we?